All, this is Dr. Mobeen Sayed from drbeen.com. Welcome to a random chit chat. And here is what I saw. I saw Jim to be the first one, then Steve. So, Steve, I'm sorry you are not first today. It was Jim. Jim actually, before even I went live, Jim had joined. So, rubies are red. Hello. Denise says, yo, back to you. Jim says first. Yes, Jim was first today. Steve, you're losing your touch of being first. John Scott says, Dr. Been medical lecturer, adenosine deficiency known to result in testicular ischemia with hemorrhage and inflammation. So I am going to look into this one. Janna, hi, back to you. Kamran, hi. Fabio, second. Second was actually Steve. Fabio, you were third. Denise from New Jersey, welcome. Kamran, hello. John Snyder, Steve, Jim beat you, yes. Trevor, hello. Synced, hello. Nancy, hello. Jana, Dr. Been, please share a bit on women infertility and hormone imbalances from long COVID, once healthy, fertile prior. Jana, I have not heard of that, because for that to occur, of course, a woman's system is much more complex than a man's system. So she has ovaries, she has androgen or the estrogen production, plus she has the uterine and vaginal systems and fallopian tubes. So that whole system's health has to be considered. Give me a day or so to do some research on this, because this is important and I have not looked at it in this way. So give me 1 second. Let me take it down, the note. System in long COVID. One more good news. I reached out to Dr. Marek today, and he said he just came back from Texas, a little tired, but would love to join us next week. I said, cool beans have been missing him. So he said, how about we speak next week? So we'll have him. Barbara, welcome. How is Lotus? Hassan Sami, hi sir, hello back to you. Steve, the Moderna news was someone tested vaccinated Moderna patient serum versus variants, including UK, and it worked against all of them. Very good. I don't know what happened with AstraZeneca. Why did they have a lower efficacy? Yes. B12, welcome. Jackson, hello sir, good morning from India. Good morning or good evening. Is the FDA corrupt? They are not competent, I can tell you that. Denise says, my 36-year-old girlfriend, it happened too, but also she ended up pregnant now. Okay. Back, just don't know for how long, kidney and bladder infection acting up. Susan, hello doctor, a great video as usual. Thank you very much. I actually got so fired up in the morning when the doctor said that I will tell you what would cause absolute destruction of testis and threaten fertility. That's a big deal. At the end of the day, the whole life forms are all trying to reproduce and keep themselves going. So if we tell them that, hey, your fertility is gone, that would be pretty shocking. Jana says, my OBGYN is speechless. Jana, why? Closet Picker says, keep buying him coffees. He's become very chatty with us. Yes, nowadays coffees are less, but still, yeah, coffees are good. Do you think that there are many, rubies are red, do we think that there are any hereditary issues with respect to infertility issues? Rubies, do you mean that can there be damage to the sperm's genetic material and that causes abnormal baby formation? Is that what you are talking about? Rubinia says, Rubinia Malone back, welcome. Welcome. Michelle, welcome. B12. And CHF has a super chat as well. So CHF, thank you. All right. Patricia Hawk says, why do you wear half a glove on your right arm? So Patricia, if I could pick up that that camera and show you, I have a tablet here on which I draw. And so when my hand touches the screen of the tablet when I'm drawing, if I'm not wearing this glove, then the palm would kind of rub on the screen and kind of not be very smooth. So I can't draw well. So this is we call it palm rejection. So when I wear this, then I can work well with this part of the hand, while this part would cause rejection. I can do something. How about if I take this thing here and then I show you here. Do you see this tablet? So I use this tablet. Where is my pen? So I use this tablet and this pen. I'm trying to, and so then I draw on it with the pen, and this little this glove helps me with the palm rejection. Sorry for this weird way of explaining. So the real T-Rex says, no, seriously, why do you have a half glove in your right hand? So that's what I just explained. All right, so Jim says, K2 MK7 is very important for testosterone. Maybe the body becomes depleted in K2 when infected with COVID. It is possible. So whenever we have an infection, and to combat that infection, we need these substances. It's not that we would use them, Jim, and just leave them alone. We would use them and destroy them in the process, many of them. It is which one? NAC is the one that can replenish itself, but other things can just be destroyed. So we need more of them. You're correct. Patricia says, makes sense. I was wondering if you were one of those Bond characters. Possibly that too. Barbara, thank you very much for the super chat. This is for Starbucks coffee beans to keep you warm and healthy. Thank you. Thank you so much. So not so good at trolling. How to keep COVID alive outside of a host? I have no idea. But as we can tell, that COVID can live in moist environments and dirty surfaces. So that means that if somebody has COVID and they have touched surfaces that are moist, COVID can live there for some time. So I would think that moist surfaces could host and keep COVID for days. But of course, the labs that keep it, they are high security labs, and they have environments for it to stay alive. Now the comments are going to be, it is not alive already, then how can you have it alive? So Denise says that, Doctor, a lot of women on the survivors Facebook group are reporting cessation of their menses and for many months with some. That is an interesting news. I had not heard this before. Of course, the reason for the menstrual periods to cease or to reduce or become irregular could be many. One of them is simply disease itself can cause enough hormonal imbalance that the menstrual periods can cease or become irregulated, but then they return. Similarly, severe stress can cause menstrual periods to stop altogether. I know medical students sometimes that they are under severe stress, and then for months they don't have periods. And then after the exams and those, they start going back to the regular things. And then, of course, there could be damage as well. There could be hormonal damage or the tissue damage. So I have to look it up. I did not know this. I would look it up. Mark, so here is what I'm doing. I'm looking at the comments that are scrolling, and whatever is the latest comment with a question, I just click on that. So please, I'm not biased against any single comment. This is just how I try to catch them. Mark Emmer says, if mRNA vaccines harness the cell's manufacturing systems, could ivermectin interfere with that? If mRNA vaccines harness the cell's manufacturing system, no. So I promise every time that I would actually discuss this as a separate topic, so it can be a video of its own, and then I don't get time. So let me just very quickly explain it. And don't mind, we'll end up seeing testis first because the same. So Barbara's, so now I'm drawing, and so I'm using Barbara or whoever had asked me. So look, Mark, let's say here is a cell. And so your question is, if the mRNA vaccine is going to use the cell's manufacturing system to make spike protein, will ivermectin come in and interfere with that? So let's look at that. Vaccine, when it is given, so let's say this is a lipid nanoparticle, and this has mRNA. The first thing the particle is going to do is going to fuse with our cell membrane and come in and then open up and release the mRNA. This process of fusing does not need ACE2, and so ivermectin will do nothing to it. So vaccine can continue to the step 2 of its function. In the step 2, the vaccine is going to become bound. The mRNA in the vaccine is going to become bound with our ribosome. This ribosome is supposed to then convert the vaccine into the spike proteins, translate it. So once again, ivermectin does not interfere with the ribosomes, our ribosomes. Now, if it was an actual virus will first need to make RDRP, and then we would make 3 chymotrypsin-like protease, and ivermectin blocks them both. But because these 2 enzymes are not part of the vaccine process, there is no effect. So once again, in the second step of the vaccine, ivermectin once again will not do anything. And so vaccine can now produce this spike protein. This spike protein will then end up in endosome, and endosome is going to shred that. It break it up into smaller pieces. And once again, ivermectin does not do anything to this process. Finally, these broken pieces of spike protein are loaded on MHC1 or MHC2 based on what cell this is, and then presented on the surface. And so let's say this is an MHC2 presentation, and this is the part of the spike protein. Ivermectin has no mechanism to interfere with that. So vaccine can continue doing all of its functions without any problems. Where ivermectin can help is the following. Once the other cell would come in and attach here, let's say naive T cell, then we know T helper 2 pathway, we know T helper 1 pathway, and the immune system will become activated, cytokines will be released, local inflammation would occur. Part of the inflammation is that in the cell, there is a pathway called NFK beta, nuclear factor kappa B or kappa beta. That pathway, when it becomes active, it causes the nucleus of the cell to open up the genes that would help produce cytokines, especially inflammatory cytokines. Ivermectin can block this path. So it can reduce some of the inflammation, but this reduction has nothing to do with the immune system, meaning it does not suppress the immune system. It is a result of the immune system activation causing some pain to us, and ivermectin may help reduce that pain. So at the end of the day, it is actually very good when you're taking vaccine that 1, it does not interfere with the vaccine, and 2, if there is going to be any pain, it would help reduce that. Muhammad Tony says, Doctor, what's the relationship between COVID and rheumatoid arthritis? So far, I've heard no relationship. If I now do a hypothesis, if I try to think about it, when somebody becomes COVID sick with COVID, they become weak, and if they already had arthritis, that means pain in the joints, and now they are weak as well, and their muscles are not pulling their weight correctly, then there can be an imbalance on the joints, causing more pain. That is one. Second, it is possible, and I am possibly wrong in this statement that I'm going to make. It is possible that when the COVID occurs and the system is under cytokine storm and there are so many cytokines available, then rheumatoid arthritis, which is also a autoimmune disease, the cytokines would trigger the cells that are making those antibodies as well, and their number would increase, and that would cause more pain as well. That is the only relationship I can forcefully connect. Otherwise, there is no study to show there is a direct connection. Closet Picker says, can you discuss mucosal immunity? Absolutely. If everybody is okay, we can discuss it right now. Mucosal immunity includes IgA plus the mucosal lymphoid tissue, or would you like a separate topic? Either way is fine with me. So Pasi says, my mom tested positive, so I got the doctor test, so you know it was real. Pasi, so I thought that your partner's parents were sick with COVID. How are they doing? And you are saying that your mom tested positive. How is she doing? How are you doing? So Rob says India is using a COVID home kit to treat patients, including zinc and ivermectin. They're doing great. I admire India's. Look, on one end, we can say they're doing wrong, that they are giving to their population en masse something that is not proven. On the other hand, if you look at US, we are doing wrong, that we are blocking people from getting anything at all for them. So I would rather be on India's side, where you're giving something and that is helping, and there are some evidence already that it is helping, and now they can actually produce more evidence. So I am on India's side on this particular way of working. I thought we would do this. Believe me, I am so surprised, and no offense to India or Pakistan or any other country. I thought we in the US, of course I was wrong, were more advanced. We were more on top of things. We were more scientifically oriented. We had more resources to look at things. So I thought we will be the first one to lead. We are the last ones almost. So India's done great. Fabio says, long COVID and tinnitus. Any evidence? That was my super chat. Fabio, so number one, thank you for the super chat. Number two, I am seeing a lot of folks with long COVID to complaint of tinnitus. And from Dr. Drew, what I heard was that he said he developed tinnitus, and for that he took fevivoxamine, and that helped. So there is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So that means there is some imbalance in the neurotransmitters. Barbara says, this is such a wise and healthy group of people, and it's awful so many are dealing with this virus. Absolutely. So Barbara, do you know what is missing in our group? What is missing is our group's capability of getting the medicines. If I was in a different country where I could openly tell people to go to this place and get this medicine and treat yourself, the impact would have been different. I know that those countries that are listening to me and they can go get ivermectin over the counter or zinc over the counter or hydroxychloroquine over the counter, there is tremendous benefit there. We just got stuck here. Steve says that my sister lost her smell and taste for a few days, but then it returned. Very good to know. And I am sure that she is in the younger bracket because they handle this very well. Yes, thank you, Barbara. So there's another super chat. Jason, since ivermectin works on many RNA viruses, does it make sense that ivermectin could be used for the common cold? So here are the things on which ivermectin can help. Any virus that needs an RDRP, for example, common cold enzymes, viruses do need RDRP. any virus that needs three chymotrypsin like enzymes. So we know that all viruses that make polyproteins will need three chymotrypsin like enzyme to break that polyprotein into smaller units that are going to function. So ivermectin will help there. Any virus that is going to send a cargo to nucleus using importin alpha 1, alpha and beta 1, there are many mechanisms to bring the cargoes to nucleus. Importin alpha beta is one of them. So if a virus is using a different vehicle, ivermectin cannot help with that. So those viruses that can do it, ivermectin will help. Then, of course, ACE2 binding and blocking, that would be SARS-CoV-1 and 2. So these are the kind of viruses. So it covers your common cold virus issue, yes. Cary says, I wish Dr. Bean was our Surgeon General. I wish that even without being in any powerful position, I wish there was a chance in pandemic to have an exceptional regulation to say doctors can prescribe whatever they want. Let's leave doctors and their patients alone. Let them decide the best for themselves. If that would have been done, just one thing, it would have changed the landscape in the US. Yeah, so Steve on the younger side. So that is actually good. Eric the dog says, if Dr. Bean was in Australia, he would be lecturing penguins. I love penguins. Gold Country Russ, thank you very much for the super chat. Love is a sacrifice, and we love Dr. Bean. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for the super chat. That is a large super chat. Thank you. Denise says, but doc, some can get ivermectin, colchicine, budesonide from their docs in the USA. We just need to be persistent. Yes. And here is the problem that I'm seeing. We have tainted these things so much that we need to actually now on a broader scale admit that these things are useful. I mean, think about it. This morning when the Twitter folks attacked me, and they were from FLCCC, and they thought I was against ivermectin. For me, that for a few minutes, it was a surprise, because before Dr. Marek talked about ivermectin, I was the one who had talked about it. And then Dr. Marek watched my video, and then he reached out and said, can I use parts of your videos? I am going to do a video on ivermectin. From there, the ball started getting rolling for them as well, which is excellent. And then Dr. Corey did a great job. And so they took it and they ran with it. And that was an excellent thing. But the lack of knowledge and lack of a voice, a cohesive voice, showed it in this way that people actually did not know that I am pro ivermectin. And so they were attacking me by saying that to my cool beans that, hey guys, take vitamin E and selenium so that you are protected from any negative effect, whatever the chance is. And they thought I am trying to badmouth ivermectin. So I think there is so much negative that has been produced that we need to take that off before people can easily do it. I would once again say the best thing should have been companies, insurance companies should have made small India-like, packages, which would have ivermectin and zinc and quercetin and those things, and say, you know what, start giving these out, or have stalls and giving those out, or allow the doctors to order shipments just like vaccine shipments now with ivermectin and those. So that is a problem. It frustrates me that we shot ourselves in the foot. Gold Country Russ is a cool bean. Yes, thank you. Yes, Steve, I think that they watched my video with Dracula in it. Correct. Correct. So Luis says ivermectin had caused some cases of severe hepatitis in Brazil. One person needed liver transplant. How can we use it safely? It's safely, yes, use once per week. So Luis, so first of all, don't take my advice because I'm not sitting here to give specific advice to a person. Secondly, the study that people were making fun of in the morning was actually showed to me by a cool bean in the Twitter thread. So it's not me who found it, it was a cool bean who found it. But the study was that in rats, they saw ivermectin causing liver damage, testicular damage, or possibly kidney damage. And to save from this damage, they administered vitamin E and selenium that counteracted the negative effect of ivermectin on these tissues. So I had said that, hey, use vitamin E and selenium, to which folks thought that somehow I am fear mongering about ivermectin. My message was very simple, and I still stand by it. Even if one person out of 100,000 is going to get some liver issue, why not give vitamin E and selenium? What's so bad about supplements? We have to have them anyways. So, Lewis, ideally combined with vitamin E and selenium. And so some folks said, what is the dose? I would think that the daily RDA should be sufficient. So Anikode Anand, Dr. Been, any thoughts on Aviptadil top line? I know that Aviptadil has been very, very useful. I do not know if they have released any top line results from some new study. Can you, Anikode, can you share something with me, some link? I have done a talk about Aviptadil. I love it, the function of it for COVID. And Doug says, they're crazy, you're the real life. Yes, ivermectin man. We have a cartoon of our ivermectin man. That is correct, Terry. Aaqib says, any relation between tinnitus? And I don't know. Aaqib, long haulers, some of the long haulers are having tinnitus. Jason says, what do you suspect is the cause of the rapid decline in COVID cases in the US and UK? So one is, let's say, lockdown. That's one thing. You lock down everyone, the cases are going to go down. The second possibility is that the virus has become less contagious. So it may be more, not contagious, it may be more contagious, but it is less lethal, less virulent, we call it. Virulence means causing the clinical symptoms. So it is less virulent. And this is a normal behavior. I have always talked about it, but I always wondered that why, when this virus is becoming more contagious, it is not becoming less virulent. Here is what happens. So let's say we have a box. In this box, we have this two sides. So let's fill this one. So for software engineers, I used to make this box when I used to teach software engineering. I used to teach masters in computer sciences. So here, over there, I used to make this box for, guess what? CPU and memory. So if you use more powerful CPU, you would need less memory. If you give it more memory, then less powerful CPU can do the function. So here, if you look at it, we were talking about the virus. So if the virus is more contagious, so let's say this side is contagious, then it has to become less virulent. So if I say virulence, I hope the spellings are correct. So for example, if the virus was this much contagious and this much virulent. Now the virus moved up and became this much contagious. That means it is spreading faster. Then it has to become less virulent so that people can have the virus and walk around and give it to others. Imagine a virus is more contagious like this, but it is also more lethal like this. then the people are just going to fall ill right away. Imagine this virus has a mean date. So between the start of the infection, when we get the infection, to the days that symptoms are produced, mean is 5.1 day. It can be anywhere from 2 days to 14 days. Outlier is 27 or 28 days, that somebody got the infection here and after 27 days they developed the symptoms. But normally within 2 to 14 days, mean 5.1. Now, before that, there is a time period in which the person becomes contagious and starts spreading the virus. Now, if the virus has become more virulent, that means as soon as the virus arrived, it started going in our cells and just becoming more, replicating and come out and go to the next cell and accelerated its behavior. That means maybe the symptoms would appear in 2 days. But now it is also possible that the asymptomatic time has now reduced to 1 day. So it is not that the person is still going to be 2 days asymptomatic and then third day it is going to be the symptoms itself. So as the virus becomes more and more virulent, it's time for the symptoms and the asymptomatic time is going to become compressed. The person, if the virus is lethal as well, then the person is not going to spread it. So in my opinion, the reason that we are seeing lesser and lesser cases, there can just be two, let's say three. One reason can be that we are in lockdown, severe lockdown, everybody away, sitting at home, not meeting anyone. If we do that with the world, within a month, the virus would have to go away. Why? Because if I'm sitting at home, not meeting anyone at all, and I have the virus in me, within a month, my body is going to take care of the virus. It's going to go away or I'll die. So either there is a strict lockdown or the virus's virulence is less. So even when we catch it, we are not getting sick. And that actually is interesting because if we're not getting sick and we're giving it to the next person, we are improving the herd immunity very fast, which would further help reduce the cases. So doctors indeed claim that symptom start is later after infections. So of course we get infection, it takes a few days for it to cause enough damage and enough immune response, because immune response doesn't start the same minute. It takes a few hours, normally 24 to 48 hours. And then the second part of the symptoms is virus own damage. So if it is more virulent, it's going to cause more damage fast and symptoms are going to occur fast. So Nancy says, what's the deal with the Apple Watch detecting COVID before symptoms? So I tweeted that little article today. So what they're saying is that the Apple Watch, what they did was they took data from Apple Watch for some people who became then sick, and they looked at their data for heart rate and their activity. And they saw that a week before the symptoms, the people started having erratic heart rate. So they could look at the heart rate in a normal person. So let's say they take my data, and normally my heart rate doesn't go up and down like that, but then it just started going up and down for a few days. They can suspect that this may be COVID. Again, that is because nowadays COVID is prevalent. So that is called the positive predictive value. If COVID was not a pandemic and then the heart rate became erratic, they could not say it is COVID. So it is not really a COVID diagnosis, but it is an indication that COVID may be in this person because it is prevalent. Very, very interesting. Jem is here. Hey, Jem, how are you? Welcome. Pete Revell says, would you take ivermectin for other viral infections, common cold, etc., not COVID? So I would take ivermectin for RNA-based vaccine viruses, because RNA-based viruses have RDRP and 3-chymotrypsin-like protease. That is what ivermectin can help. But I would definitely take ivermectin for coronaviruses because it would also disrupt their importin function as well, importin alpha and beta. Oh wow, I wore a heart monitor for 2 weeks post-COVID. Waste of money. Janna, why did you need to have a heart monitor? Soteria Worcester. Dr. Bean, if the virus can sit on physical objects for X days, then can it not also sit on fresh cold food for a period of time? Very good question. So let me explain it with some drawings. So here is the important thing about this virus. This virus, when it comes out of our cell, when it ejects from a cell, either from the Golgi apparatus is, let's actually agree on something. Our cells are made up of, they are envelopes. And that envelope is made up of a membrane, which is a phospholipid bilayer. Good. Inside the cell, the organelle, the little functioning machines, are also made up of those envelopes as well. So imagine that you have a home that is made up of bricks. And then inside the home, everything is made up of bricks as well. Let's say the dining table is made up of bricks. Let's say where you cook, that part of the kitchen is made up of bricks. Let's say this table I'm sitting at and we're discussing is made up of bricks. So that is how our cells' internal structures are, that most of the organelle are made up of same phospholipids membrane. Now, when this virus has its RNA and enzymes and nucleocapsid proteins and everything made, and then it wants to get out, on the way out, it will steal our membrane's piece. So I always think of that as if on the way out, if I had a shawl like thing here, if on the way, okay, so I'm going to do this. So imagine that this is the cell membrane. This is a cell membrane. And when the virus is coming out of it, it kind of pokes its head from the cell membrane and takes part of the cell membrane with it as an envelope. And it is in it now. But it stole a piece of our cell membrane. That piece might come from the organelle, or that piece may come from the cell membrane. Now, let's go back here for a second. Now, once it is out, that means we have viral RNA, which has a cell membrane, which it stole from us. But we don't call it a membrane when it is on the virus, because viruses are not live things. So we call it envelope. But it is actually our membrane. And then it has these SARS proteins on it, the spike proteins on it, right? Now, to answer your question, this thing needs moisture to stay alive. It needs to stay hydrated, just like we need to stay hydrated. So if I don't use my little, I think I've sometimes shown this as a prop as well. If I don't continue to use the skin hydration, my skin becomes very, very dry. So same is the problem with this virus. It needs hydration. That is why it loves to live in wet areas. Now, on the surface, it can live on that surface, which will have less pores in it. The reason that lesser the pores, the greater the chance for the surface to be really, really smooth and for the moisture to settle on it for longer time. It would be less absorptive. For example, porous surfaces are paper, for example, or cardboard or other such things, which are going to absorb the fluids from this virus and make it inactive very fast. Now, let's talk about food. So let's say here we have a bowl of food. In this bowl, we have some salad. And somebody who made that salad had COVID. They did not know it yet. 2 days later, they're going to become sick. And they touched their nose. And then they touched while making the salad. Sorry for this gross thing, but that is how it can function. Now that salad may have something in here that may have a tiny piece of the nasal secretion. In there, the virus can survive. Now, if you eat that, question is that sufficient? Number one. Number two, most of the time when we will eat this kind of a thing, it will go in our stomach where we can combat this virus better in the GIT compared to our respiratory system. So chances of this food giving you infection are slightly lesser than airborne, because this virus likes to come in through the airborne route in a large quantity and attach to a lots of cells and then get in. Now imagine, on the other hand, another kind of a food or fruit. So let's say we have an apple here, right? So this is an apple and there is some apple-y things on it. And then this apple has SARS-CoV-2 sticking on it. So now the question is very simple. How long has this been there? Is this wet enough or not for the virus to stay active there? If the apple has been sitting out there for some time and the evaporation has continued to occur and the virus, wherever it was sitting, that area has become dried, then it cannot do anything. It has become not an active virus anymore. Its envelope is done. It's gone. So that is how the food's thinking can be. And that was my apple that I drew. So France was singing a song. France, you're singing a song without telling me. Here, ivermectin man, he is giving your protection and keep it in your outer the. I see, absolutely. Simple says don't eat cherry. Okay, so what else do we have? So Soteria says, this is why I wash all groceries packages that enter my home daily, weekly, just in case. Absolutely. So if you wash them, somebody had started washing things with the soap. I don't think that the soap is necessary to wash, but just general washing will be sufficient. Jim says, question breaking, Madagascar quits World Health Organization over COVID-19 scandal. Madagascar President Andry Rajoelina has removed his country from the world. So I know that in the beginning, we used to have a cool bean who was from Madagascar. She used to be very active, not nowadays. She said that Madagascar had made their own cocktail that they said that was great for COVID. So let's look at it. Maybe they are upset because they kept asking World Health Organization to test their cocktail. In my opinion, it is really the research work of that country or that lab to do their work instead of asking World Health Organization to do it. WHO is, they do not know their elbow from something else. So let's see. Madagascar COVID cocktail. So this was the miracle remedy, remember? So Madagascar spike in COVID cast doubt on miracle remedy. So this remedy was what their president had been saying that World Health Organization should look at. And WHO had given a statement that we're working with them to think about it. So Artemisia developed by these scientists, and promoter was President Andrei himself. So that is what was the basic thing that they kept locking horns with WHO about. So now Madagascar leaves WHO. So May 12, these are old stories. Okay, so I'll have to do some research afterwards. These are older stories. And in the older time, they were locking horn with WHO saying that work on what we are offering and do a trial. And I think WHO was saying, dudes, you do your own trial and then tell us if it is useful or not. Terry says, I'm starting to wonder if government public health officials are concerned at all about the public's actual health. Terry, do you feel that they care? I don't feel that they care. I appreciate that there is a effort for vaccines. There are many people who do not like the vaccines or who have concerns with the vaccines, but still they put some effort somewhere. I wish they had this effort for vitamin D, for hydroxychloroquine, for zinc, quercetin, and the ivermectin. So I don't think that they really care. I think they care more for what will get them people's positive opinion in terms of votes or those things. So they make false things. Let's become masker. Let's become anti-masker. Let's become vaxxer, anti-vaxxer. Let's become ivermectin pro, ivermectin no. So they create camps and cults in them, and that is how they attach people with them for their votes. But I don't think that they care sincerely for a person's well-being, regardless of what camp they are in. My thought. It's maybe I'm wrong. Jim says maybe it's fake. Maybe I'll do some more research. The one and only says, question: is it possible to have vitamin 3 toxicity with 5,000 IU dailies? Can't say for others, depends upon their basic level. I have been taking 10 to 20,000 units daily for some days. So nowadays I take it twice or thrice a week, but I still take 10 or 20,000 units. So at least I am okay so far. We'll see. Patricia Hockey says, good night, Patricia. Yes, so Wayne, that is correct. There are some formulations of vitamin D that load initial 200,000 or 300,000, 250,000 units in the beginning, and then they maintain it. Janna, I have been taking 20,000, yes. That is correct, Terry. So Aaqib says, hi doc, I found paresthesia and peripheral muscular twitching more frequently in patients with asymptomatic COVID. Is there any relationships? I have not heard of that, but let's think about it. Paresthesia would mean myelin sheath malfunction or inflammation in the nerves. And muscular twitching will mean also incorrect nerve firing, and that would cause twitches. Incorrect nerve firing, once again, sorry, I'm just thinking, I think like this. Incorrect nerve firing is also either possibly because of the neuron damage or because of the myelin sheath not firing correctly. So at the end of the day, what you're saying is that in asymptomatic patients, there may be inflammation of the nerves or myelin sheath. That is what needs to be looked at. So if you can, please Google myelin sheath and COVID-19, and that would give you the answer. Yes, Loop is helping. Absolutely. Cool. So Jenna says, I have tremors now. Jenna, tremors after taking something or just in general? Denise says, gravity pulling sensation with the tachycardia and chest pains, but the part has all ceased. Ivermectin man is a stud. Ivermectin man. Jenna, have you tried ivermectin? Or I thought that you said your doctor was open to it. Have you started it? Oh, wow. John says that received Moderna first day. Awesome. How are you feeling? So Janna is on it. So Janna, any improvement? Shamarayahu Morris says, is it dangerous to take high doses of vitamin D? Look, here is how vitamin D can be dangerous. If a person already has high levels of calcium, maybe they have hyperparathyroidism, or maybe they have bone tissue issue where they are mobilizing too much calcium, or maybe they are absorbing too much calcium, or maybe they are receiving calcium injections or something which is should not, but let's say they are overdosed on calcium, and then you add vitamin D to them, and you can definitely cause a dysregulation. That's how it can be dangerous. Similarly, if imagine somebody has calcium depositions, on top of that, let's say I have been using 20,000. Let's say that I had atherosclerosis going on, and I had calcium being deposited in my blood vessels, and I was taking vitamin D without MK7 or without K2, and now the calcium started getting mobilized and getting deposited in my blood vessel walls. That can cause kidney injury, that can cause cardiac tissue injury, that can cause heart attacks, that can cause blood pressure. So it really depends what is a person's body state. The best way to improve your vitamin D is to get your levels and then bring them to, let's say, 50 or so, 60, 70. If you do not know your level and you are sure that, hey, I don't have kidney diseases, I don't have cardiac issues, I do not have blood pressure issues, I do not have twitching of my muscles and other nervous system related, calcium related issues, then you can start from a higher dose, for example, 100,000 units, and then start taking 1,000 daily or 5,000 daily. So, but should be done with doctor's advice, with your knowledge of your calcium levels. Stephen says, from a mechanism perspective for possible myelin disturbance, I wonder if Imitrex would help. Imitrex, since pathophysiology of migraines are thought to be myelin based. Imitrex and myelin. I don't see. So let me do some digging, Steve. I'll have to look at the possibility first before I open my mouth about it. Jenna says, but I'm not taking the meds they gave me. Jenna, why aren't you taking meds they're giving you? Wow. RB Longholler says lost 25 pounds to COVID. Why is this the continuous side effects of the, or continuous effects? Got it. So I saw Jim's comment here. Vitamin 2, K2 prevents hypercalcemia. Correct. Correct. Absolutely correct. Cool. So let's do this for today. Let's break. We'll continue our discussion tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to do this. I'm going to talk about ivermectin and the reason to take vitamin E and selenium. I'm going to talk about the same study once more. We talked about it before too. If you like, I can do it. It's not a big deal. It's one study. It's on rats. And they said that, hey, we observed liver, kidney, and testicular damage. And if you take vitamin E and selenium, it can help protect. So if that is sufficient for the cool beans, then I'll skip that topic. Otherwise, we can go in detail for that topic. So Holy Angel says, Dr. Been, is brain white matter loss associated with COVID-19? So Holy Angel, not so far. But let me explain why did I talk about myelin sheath, because that is a white matter. So here is what happens. Our neurons, so let's say this is a neuron cell body. It has this axon, and then axon is continuing on, and finally it ends up like this, or it may have multiple branches, something. This neuron has a cover on it, which is the myelin sheath, correct? The benefit of the myelin sheath is that it kind of allows the, so this is the neuron. So it allows the nerve impulse to travel from node to node, so travel fast, correct? That is why this myelin sheath is. Now, if for some reason this myelin sheath becomes damaged, for example, it can become damaged in multiple sclerosis and other such autoimmune diseases. And so the damage occurs because of inflammatory products, especially antibodies or cytokines. They can cause damage to the myelin sheath. So now let's say COVID itself is not damaging it, but let's say COVID has caused some antibodies that are reacting here and damaging this, or COVID has caused cytokines that are causing inflammatory products, which in turn are damaging myelin sheath, then we would see that. So that is a possibility to connect it with COVID. Okay, cool. So thank you very much, everyone, for today. Once again, my request, please like, subscribe, and share. If you would like to buy me a coffee, there is a link to buy me a coffee in the description. If you would like to be a patron, there is a link for that. And if you would just like to support this work, there is a link for that as well. Thank you very much. Stay safe and happy and healthy. I would see you all tomorrow. Samina, you have been relatively quiet today, and I haven't seen Shahida. So Samina says, I'm vaccinated. Should I take ivermectin weekly? No. So Samina, did you get both the doses? Ideally, after the first dose, you have another 20 days. Maybe one dose or two doses are ivermectin are enough during this time. So Paul Burke says that let's skip the detailed discussion so we can then pick up some other topic. Cool. So thank you, everyone, one more time, and I would see you tomorrow. Have a good night.